Alright, so like you said, my name is Chris Reese. So everyone knows, don't laugh, the name was Caitlin before all of it. That was a fun name. Very fun. Why don't I just start with how it started? How about that? I'll talk for like 15 minutes and then we'll do questions for 15 minutes. How about that?
Cool. Alright.
Okay, so where this started. It started, my mom says, with a bad ultrasound before I was born. Because she had 6 ultrasounds because I was a very, very tiny baby. So every ultrasound said I was a boy. There was a little woohoo there and everything was fine. And then when I came out, I was a girl. So the doctors don't know what happened. That's fun. So life kind of went on. You know, your parents expect you to fall into the gender normative and everything like that. I was a girl. She wanted me to play with Barbies. She got me one of those creepy look-alike dolls. Have you ever seen those before? Some of you know what I mean. They make a doll that looks exactly like you, but looks like something from a horror movie that will kill you with a knife, like Chucky. So growing up was pretty, it was okay. My parents are Christian, Lutherans, so it's not a very strict religion or anything like that, but some of them are not the most open-minded people, and some of them grew up a little bit more closed-minded in my family. But I could always kind of tell when I was a kid that something was off, and it was just off, never really felt right. Anytime I went anywhere, anytime I went out, or anything that my family got me, or anything I wore. And this really went on until I was about, goodness, I want to say about 18, right when I was about to get out of high school. And then finally, I'll just do a quick timeline and go back. When I went into college, I finally found out about LGBT because I was kind of, I don't want to say closed off from the world, but it was a very like protected family, so it wasn't, you know, go out and explore all the time. You can, but still we're going to watch what you do. So when I got into college, I learned about the LGBT, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is a thing. Maybe I'm just gay, or maybe I'm just bisexual, something like that. And then I did some costuming and I did some theater work with my school, and I had to wear a compression shirt because I was playing a guy. I'm like, oh, this feels a lot more natural than actually having to wear a bra, you know. So after that, I found a website that sold chest binders, and I just started wearing the binder every day at college. My parents weren't there. I could just kind of do what I wanted. And then about a year in, I came out as trans to all my friends, and they were very accepting. It was very open-minded at college, and all my other friends and all my other communities that I go to. But when I went home, I still hadn't told my parents until about my junior year of college. And I told them during my spring break the day before, or the night before I left. So literally I told them, and then I went back to school. That was actually a very smart idea because my mom got very upset. You know, they have to mourn the loss of the one kid that they don't think is going to be existing anymore, their daughter, and I'm kind of killing that person by becoming their son. So it took them a little while to get over it and kind of understand what I was going through. So when I finally got to my senior year, when I came back home for that summer vacation, everything, I was working all the time, and I was working a 40, 50-hour week, so I wasn't home much. So it gave them a lot more time to think while I was home. And then going into senior year, they started accepting me a little bit more. They started saying Chris. From then until now, they still don't always call me their son. They kind of gone into a neutrality thing by just calling me their kid. Just saying, this is my child. This is the person we created and gave birth to. So going through the college and going through the high school, I didn't really have a support system because it wasn't really widely accepted in my area. In my experience, I didn't have a community I could go to like I do now, which is so much better. So once I got out of college, that was 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, about, I started looking more into what transgender is and how it all, what the process is in general. And it has taken me just until about early this month. That's still March. Early this month, before I could actually start the process of going through everything, because I just started hormones this month. About March, what was it, March 6th? You know. About March 6th, I started hormones, and it's still going to be a slow process, but I'm hoping it's going to help the family a little bit more understand, because I think they thought, I've been thinking this way for 6 years, that they just thought it was a thing, that I just didn't want to have, breasts, or I just didn't want to fit into the gender normative thing of a girl, I just want to be a tomboy. I'm like, okay, that's not it, but go ahead, think what you want for now, until the hormones kick in, and then I start looking like a man. But now it's getting a little better. They're a little bit more accepting. I'm getting called Chris more, and now I get to charge them $1 when they call me Kate or Caitlin. That's always good. I have them up to $10. But now it's a little, like I said, now it's better, but back then I wish I'd had the support systems that are out now for kids your age, and there is a whole lot more. Even if you don't know that they're there, they are there. There's always people you can go to, there's always people you can find, even if you just have to go online and just type in the Rochester LGBT or anywhere, you can find anywhere to go. You can call hotlines, there's anything. That might have been there when I was a teenager, but it was not widely pronounced and told to people, and and no one really knew what it was. When I was back in high school, I was bullied constantly. I was actually asked out on dates as a prank and dares by guys, just to mock me. There were a couple times I was punched, or I was, beaten on, or just not talked to. There were times my stuff was just taken out of my locker. Stuff was taken out of my backpack and just kind of tossed somewhere. So high school was rough, and I knew then I couldn't come out, or I didn't even have a word for it at that point that I was trans, but I knew I couldn't come out as anything when I was in high school. But that's just because of, I know it's not that far back from you guys, it's only 6 years or so, but still, or no, God, it's more than that, it's about 8. Goodness. But back when I was in my teenage years, it was a little bit more closed-mindedness, and I don't think transgender was still a thing, but I don't think people understood it as much. They didn't even really understand LGBT rights or anything like that, but now it's just so much easier. Like, if I had, like I said, the help that you guys can have, it would have helped me immensely, and I probably would not have turned to the dark sides of my life that I did. When I was in college trying to figure out that I was trans and going through all this, I kind of went through a rough period where, I told my parents, but I didn't think they were totally accepting of it, and it kind of threw me down into a downward spiral, and my grades started going down really bad. I actually failed, I think, 3 classes in 1 semester. I wasn't doing good with my friends. All I was doing was, I was in charge of I was in charge of a team of horses at my college, and I was helping train them and keep them up, but that was really all I was doing, besides going back to my dorm and drinking or just passing out. I won't lie to you guys, I had an alcohol problem in college, and it went on until I graduated, where I was basically working just to buy alcohol, just to go through all of this, just so I could cope and try to make myself feel a little bit better, that maybe I'm not wrong, but maybe there's something wrong with me that I need to get fixed, that I just don't know how to fix. And it wasn't until after college, when I started seeing a therapist for a little bit, that I realized, no, there's nothing wrong with me. It's people that are telling me I'm wrong, and people that are just, they're not lying, but they're not keeping an open mind enough to help me, and it's just kind of pushing me down. So I started separating myself from my parents a little more, trying to go out a little more, not really spending as much time with my family, because at that point my family didn't know. I was just kind of there as a person. They would call me Kate or Caitlin, and I just kind of, usually I didn't even notice, because I was so used to Chris at that point, so I'd just be ignoring my family members, and they just get mad at me. I didn't know what my name was. But it slowly started to get better. The alcohol problem is finally gone, thank God. But I know of a couple other people in the community who have gone through that, or say they started drugs or they started cutting. I know there was one friend of mine in college who I graduated a year before them, so they were still there after I got out, and they tried to commit suicide because they just didn't feel accepted, and that was a problem. They were at my college. It was a friend's college, but they were a year behind me. So it was a little bit rough when I was in school and going through all that. And I just want you guys to know there is people out there. Even if you just have to keep a diary for yourself and write it down, you can do anything that can help you besides going to the dark place that I did or all of these people I know that did. It doesn't have to be, a rough patch for you guys. Yes, it's going to be confusing. I don't suggest just jumping into something like saying, oh, I want to be a man, I'm going to start hormones and then get my breast cut off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not saying you should do that. That is totally the wrong way to go. I needed to go to therapy and think about this and try to figure it out if this is something I really want to do, because it does add up. If I didn't have good insurance, I'd be paying $30 for every visit. I have to go to the doctor for hormones, and I'd have to pay for the hormones itself, which would be about $50 to $100 depending on the bottle I got. So I'd be paying almost $200 a month for this. And plus the surgeries itself, if you're going to be in the U.S. for any of the surgeries, it's going to be about $7,000 to $15,000 per surgery, and you need about, depending on what you're going to have done, you need about 4 or 6. So it really adds up, and I think that scares a lot of people who think that they're trans away and kind of tells them, no, this isn't right, society says it's wrong, you don't go through this body mutilation, and that's already a taboo in our society. So it's more, even if you're not trans, even if you're just gay or bi or lesbian or anything like that, or even just gender fluid, gender binary, anything, you need to just kind of push through the hard times that are going, because even for young people, no offense to anyone here, but young people are always mean to each other. It's always a thing. Teenagers are always mean. I'm sorry. Not you guys seem nice. But younger people are always more mean to each other than, adults can be cruel. Sorry, adults. But I find that the teenagers are a lot more cruel to people, and even if they say they're accepting, they can put on the straightest face and still be insulting you and lying to you even more hardcore than adults can be. Adults will just tell you straight up if they don't accept it or anything. Teenagers will be more coy and kind of pick on you and everything, and it's something you just kind of have to deal with, because it happens with almost anything. You could even not be an LGBT. You could just say, like me, like comic books. That's why I got picked on in school, because I like comic books. So I got my butt kicked at least once a month for it. So there's always going to be reasons why people will pick on you, but it's not something that you need to let, beat you down and just kind of be like, oh, well, I shouldn't do this because someone told me no, or someone told me that it was wrong. You need to just, push through all the hard times like I have, and it's slowly becoming a better situation. And as far as your parents go, I don't want you to just think, oh, my parents just don't understand now, they're just never going to understand, I hate my parents, blah, blah, blah. It's not, hopefully it won't always be like that. Mine were very close, I want to say close, they weren't closed-minded, but they were very confused and very sad at the beginning of all this, because they lost their daughter, they felt one of their children died, they didn't really have a way to go, bury them in a sense. So at the beginning it was very rough and very confusing, and everyone was kind of mad at each other. I was snapping at my parents a lot. And now it's more, they ask me questions, they want to know, they're trying to be more supportive, they're calling me Chris, every so often they call me he, and I'm like, score for me! So it does get better. There's, sometimes I see when people go on Facebook, and you go into the forums and everything, and you can see people just ranting that their parents suck. And it won't always be like that. It's hard for parents right when it first happens, because they do break down and they do feel like a kid has died and a loved one has died, and they don't know how to cope with that. It's not something that they're prepared for, especially if you're going to come out as trans, because then they're like, oh, well, now you're going to kill my kid and go through body mutilation and try to change your whole personality and probably just change all of you, and you're not going to be the person I've known for, I'm 24, so 24 years that I've raised. So it's just a process that you have to go to. I tried to get my parents to go to family therapy. They didn't want to. I understand. So now we talk a lot more. They ask a lot more questions. They're a lot more supportive now. I know my parents still love me. It's just always very hard for the parents. It's going to be hard for you guys, but it's always going to be twice as hard for them because you've had time to think about it. Even if you're just gay, you've had time to think about this choice that you know, this lifestyle that you want to go through and everything. And they have not even considered that most times. They haven't considered that, oh, my son or daughter might be gay, oh, my son or daughter might be just any form of queer or trans, and it just doesn't click. It's slowly becoming more of a normative in our society, but not really. So it's a lot harder for the parents, especially parents that are, say, my parents from like the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was a little bit more open-minded, but it wasn't as open-minded then, and it was still a little bit rough for them to go through all of that, and it's still rough now. Especially hard for your grandparents. Really give them props if they can accept you, because oh my goodness. My grandparents are very accepting, because one of my uncles is gay, and their son, so they grew up with it, so they know, so they can help me, I can go talk to them. But then my great-grandma, oh my goodness. I've tried once to explain it to her and she didn't get it, so I'm like, just call me Chris now, just call me Chris and everything will be fine. She's like, okay. I love my great-grandma, I love her, it's just... I broke it. Okay. Your bells scare me. All right. So, just out of all of that talking, I know I just kind of rambled for 15 minutes, but
17.
Just remember, it's going to be hard for you guys. You have time to think about it. You're still young. Don't rush into anything right now. If you really feel that this is something that you want to do, or even just being gay or any kind of different, I suggest you just go talk to a therapist, go talk to someone, even if it's your counselor here at the school, just talk to someone, because it will help you. I just don't want anyone to jump into anything and then regret a decision later on in life and then realize you wanted to go back. There is a guy out there who has had 4 sex changes. He's gone back and forth between genders for 25 years. I think he's paid about $1 million in surgeries. It's terrifying. Remember, it's going to be hard for your parents, your family. Your friends may be a little bit more accepting because people your age are pretty open-minded to anything, but it's going to be twice as hard for your parents, for your family. They don't usually understand because they didn't grow up with stuff like this, being a normative in society. They grew up in a more, I want to say, conservative kind of world. So it's going to be hard, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They may push you away for a little while just so they can think and they can figure things out. But don't give up on your family. Don't just hate them if things are going to get bad for a while. And then just don't, give up on yourself for all of this. That's what I did, and my life took some very dark turns. I almost turned to suicide at one point because it just got so bad. It was what I was thinking about. So everyone should you need to keep positive about anything and any of your life choices that you're going to make. You don't want to just assume that the worst has already happened and then it's over, nothing will get better. It will always get better. Things can always turn around, even if you need to just need to leave the situation and just kind of put yourself off to the side, even if you're still your guys' age, living at home, just kind of separate yourself from your family. If you think you're really going to have problems at home, talk to a school counselor, they can help you, but still, you can't just assume the worst is over and then just give up. You need to just keep going no matter what the situation is. Okay? Okay. Okay. Alright. We what, 10 minutes left?
Just about.
Alright, so we'll do questions now. You raise your hands. You're civilized people. That's a hard one. I don't really, they grew up Lutheran, if any of you know what that religion is. It's just a form of Christianity. I don't tend to, I have my own beliefs that we were created by something higher. We weren't just kind of, I agree with evolution, and I agree with creation, if that helps you. I'm one of those people. I believe that we evolved, but I believe something had to create, the first thing in order for us to evolve. That is my opinion. So I don't go to church anymore. It just doesn't fit with my religion. I don't really feel comfortable in churches being trans anyway, because most churches that I've been to are not as widely accepting of this. So it's more, I'm just kind of putting my own beliefs there, be like, this is what I believe. All right, there we go. All right. Does that help? That was a lot more loud in my schools. Okay.
Did you have any struggles with your friends not accepting you or anything like that?
I had and have a few friends who were still struggling with it. It's not that some friends have rejected me completely because of it, I won't lie to you. Some people are just like, no, I can't accept this, goodbye forever, hello, I'm gone. But there's some people, I like to tell people, even if they don't accept it, don't force what you're going to be and your own beliefs on someone. That's kind of how a lot of wars have started, so don't do that. You can't really change. I don't suggest changing, this is my own personal opinion, I don't suggest changing how people think. Yes, try to be a nice person to them, try to make them see that you're a good person, that you're not, something's just wrong and you just need to fix it. Like if they just want to have, even if it goes to simple, they don't think their teeth are white enough, so they go to get their teeth whitened. It's kind of, it's a little more extreme than that. But I kind of put it in the same category when I'm talking to people, like, yes, I don't expect you, even if you don't like what I'm doing, I just want you to respect me and respect my own ideas and not just abandon me because we have a different belief system or because we think different things. That's just how, just how all the negativity starts. If you could just be friendly with each other and just kind of, put it aside, like, all right, this is the thing, can we get over this and still be friends? Yes? Okay. If not, and you really aren't going to have a problem with it, and it's really going to be a negativity thing in your life, then you probably should not be hanging out with that person. That's my own belief system. I just try to don't push your own ideals onto someone because that just leads to negativity. God, there's two of you. You first, then you.
So the best thing to do is just be there for them?
I always say just be there for them. I mean, if you have a trans friend, there's a lot of stuff you can find online about it and all the research you can do, all the information's out there. If you feel the need to look it up, like I have one coworker, she looks up everything all the time. She's my favorite boss, but she looks up everything trans related and now she knows more than me. I'm a little scared. But if you feel it's something you can look into without, corrupting your own, beliefs and your own ideas and everything, then go ahead, look into it, be there for them, be supportive. Don't just push them away because they're different. That's, like I said, how a lot of wars have started and how a lot of horrible things in this world have started. Because people just can't tend to get over things. That's what I say. Just be there for them. If you're curious, talk to them. I have people who message me online constantly and ask me things, and sometimes they're just stupid questions like, not to be gross, but how do you pee? Sorry. So if you're curious about anything, just ask, but also just be there as their friend. Don't just, push them away. Does that help?
Yeah.
I hope I'm being helpful now.
How did you come out to your friends? Like, did you straight up just tell them, or did you kind of let them figure it out?
Well, my friends are nerds. They're geeks, and they've kind of gotten used to that thing. So that group of friends, I told them, if you call me Caitlin, I'll kill you. My other group of friends who were not like that, I had to sit them down and explain it to them. The ones who aren't part of LGBT or don't really know anything about it, I sat down with them and talked to them or messaged them privately, or I told them just the name I wanted to go by now and use he pronouns and stuff, and they messaged me and we talked more about it. For my parents, I sat them down after dinner. I told them, we sat there in silence for 10 to 15 minutes, and then I went to bed. And left them alone for a little while, like 3 months to think about it. But I did just blurt it out one day, and I actually wrote it on a form wrong when I was trying to fill out for a new driver's license. I wrote down Christopher, and I'm like, oh, that's not right. That is wrong. I will get in trouble for having a legal name on my legal document.
If I may ask, do you believe that dysphoria is necessary for being transgender, or
does everyone know what dysphoria is or no? It's when, how do I explain it? You are looking at yourself, like I still have female parts. I haven't had any surgeries yet. So if I look at myself in a mirror, I still know they're there. Like breasts and everything are still there. So it like hurts your mindset and you're like, oh crap, I'm still a girl, but I'm a guy. And it kind of just screws with your mind. It's kind of like, oh, something's not right, but I can't fix it. It kind of just eats at you, that kind of thing. That's the best way I can explain it, at least from my experience for it. I don't believe, I don't want to say it's a necessity, but it's a thing that happens to everyone. I have a friend who's still, he's had the surgeries, I met him last year and I would not know he was a girl. I would not know that this buff man was a girl. I would not know. And I think sometimes he still has a little dysphoria. Sometimes, I'm not sure. I'm guessing because sometimes he's a little iffy when he talks to me sometimes. And when I ask him questions about stuff. But then there's some people who I have a friend who's, I think, 8 months into his transition, and he still gets really bad dysphoria sometimes. So me and him have to talk. We talk sometimes, and we try to figure it out. But it really eats at you. You know something's wrong, but you can't fix it. So I don't think it's necessary, but I think everyone goes through it at one point, because you know something's wrong. She had her hand up first.
Wow, this is awkward.
Everyone's looking at you.
Well, have you or are you in a relationship?
I am.
Since you have had your transition stuff.
I am. Stop, don't you talk badly about con mom. I have been going out with my girlfriend Erica for about 1.5 years now. She, right now, is my rock. There are days I really have bad days, and I've slowly broken out of my sobriety and gone back to drinking, and she's pulled me back from it. We are going to get married someday. We don't know when, because we're still trying. I may be trans, but I am an average person. I only have a part-time job, and I'm trying to find full-time work, and it's very hard out there for anybody to get a job. It's even more hard for a transgender person to find a job right now. So we're trying to buy a house, we're trying to get settled, we're trying to get our lives, just have a normal, average person's life. Just work, get a house, not have a family, but we're going to have a lot of dogs and a pig. And all of that. So I am in a stable relationship. There's a lot of people who aren't, but I am. Yes? Okay. Does that help you? Did that answer your question? Okay. Yes.
How did you pick your name?
Oh, that's fun. My original name was Caitlin Christie Reese. Christie is a family name from way back when. I don't know if it was a first name or a last name. I just know it was a family name from my mom's side. So I wanted to pick something that related to that to keep with my parents' views. So I picked Christopher. And then as my middle name, I picked Brett because my dad wanted to name me after his favorite baseball player, George Brett from the Kansas City Royals. So I chose Christopher Brett Reese just to please them. And then all through my life as a girl, didn't know until high school that my initials were KCR, which is Kansas City Royals, so my dad still got his way in naming me after a baseball team, no matter which name I picked.
How did you, like, does your work know about you being transgender, like, openly, and, like, how did that go with that?
When I told my boss, or the day I got hired, I had to go do training at another store. They gave me a name tag that said Caitlin. So I went back to my store and said, hey, I need a new name tag. And they're like, why? Is it spelled wrong? I'm like, no, I'm a dude. My name is Christopher. And my boss looked at me, my store manager, and he looked at the HR manager, and he's like, I don't know how to handle this. You handle it. I'm going out for a walk. But now everyone knows. There are some people who sometimes forget to call me she, so sometimes they give me a quarter, or they yell at themselves, and they go and have like a hissy fit. They call me she, or I call out on them now. So everyone at my work knows, and I'm accepted there. Thank goodness. Sometimes it's fun just to screw with them. I don't say do this to anyone, but sometimes you can kind of screw with people if you're mad at them, being like, I'm still a girl. Like, I work with all women. There's one other guy, two other guys at the store. I rarely work with them, and when I work with a woman, you hear about all the women conversations about anything related to the woman's body or anything related to women. I get to hear all of that. So sometimes I jump in on those conversations just to freak people out. And I know that's a horrible thing to do. I know that makes me a horrible person, but it's still just kind of fun. So yes, they know, and sometimes I screw with them just because it's funny. But don't do that. don't screw with people like that, because then you'll really confuse people.
When plane's lost.
When you apply for a job, do you put your legal name or do you put Christopher?
Because it's a legal document, I have to put Caitlin on all the paperwork. I can put Christopher in parentheses, and then a lot of companies now are putting under when you have to check your gender, they put I don't want to talk about it, or I don't want to discuss this. They put something like that, so I always pick that option. I can't put down Christopher until I get my name legally changed to Christopher, but that won't happen because you have to go to court for it. So I wanted to wait until I'm a little bit further in with the hormones, until I look more manly. Stop.
Our bell for the end of this talk is going to ring.
Okay.
So I want to thank everybody for coming and listening and asking questions. We completely appreciate everybody being here, and we especially appreciate you. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.